And welcome to our NFL Week 15 predictions. So there's my dad on that slide. And then I kind of shit the bed last week, as you can see. Um, yeah, not great. 6-8. So my record is 129-77 now. I'm not even 130. That's embarrassing. Yeah, last week was not a good week for me. Uh, Neither was it for Greg, other than getting the score right. You see in the top right corner, Greg is the first person all season. It took somebody 14 weeks to finally get a score right. That sounds like it's a made up statistic, but I've been keeping watch, and this is the first score that anybody's gotten right. So, congratulations, Greg. Good job. There you go. 28-21. Packers beat the Bears. The record's not great, 7-7, but you're only 10 games behind, so that's like what it was 2 weeks ago. And then Zach did better than everybody else, not by a country mile, but by a decent amount. 3 games better than me, 2 better than Greg. So I'm 4 games behind now. So I'm slacking a little bit. But this week, I feel like I have a chance to bring it back. Falcons Bucks. This isn't the game where anybody's gonna get a point on one another because, I mean, I can see the Falcons winning it for sure. I mean, last season we've seen these teams split. Both are high scoring teams usually. I mean, no, not high scoring teams, but usually when these two teams play, it's a high scoring affair. I think it will be this time too. 30-27. I think Drake London, if he plays, which I think he will have a really good game. And I think that's going to be the main reason why the Falcons stay in it. But the Buccaneers proved last week that they're not the juggernaut that they were in the first half of the season. They're like the Colts. It's like we have the Colts in the AFC and the Bucks in the NFC for the two coldest teams right now. But I think Thursday night against the Falcons, it's your chance to prove yourself. Greg agrees by 3, and then Zach will also take the Bucks by 7. Which, yeah, I can see it being low scoring too. It's just these games are usually shootouts, but the Falcons' defense actually isn't that bad. Chargers Chiefs, so I will take the Chiefs by 3. Yeah, the Chargers just beat the Eagles. They were at home in that game. Do I think the Chargers are the better team? For sure, but you know, it's always going to stick in the back of your mind. You always have to remember that the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They looked ass last week. They're 6-7, 6-7. Uh, Sorry, I had to do it. I had no choice. They're 6-7 right now. Um, so, but anyway, they are below 500, but they're still the Chiefs, and you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. I am. That's why I'm going to take them. Also, a division matchup. Usually, teams, even mediocre teams, which finally, after 8 years, we can finally say that the Chiefs are a mediocre team. It feels weird coming out of my mouth saying they're mediocre, but they actually are. But will they beat the Chargers? I think so. Greg disagrees. He'll take the Chargers, and then Zach will also take the Chargers in a pretty high scoring game. 34-28. That's a little surprising. But I've seen, yeah, Chargers Chiefs games are usually surprising. I just don't think the Chargers are even good enough of a team to deserve to win this game. I know that doesn't make much sense, but if you watch the Eagles Chargers game, both teams were trying to lose. It looked like both defenses played really well, but the offenses were like, "No, you have it. No, you have it." Um, Ravens Bengals. I'll take the Bengals at home. You can see that I just have a tendency of picking the home teams. But that's because I feel like home field advantage plays at least a 40% part in most of the wins. maybe I'm wrong. I'm just grabbing this statistic out of my ass, but still. Oh, sorry, I meant pulling it out of my ass. I'm a little tired, but still. Bengals are at home. Yes, should they split the series? Probably. But the Ravens had their chance when they were at home on Thanksgiving. So you had your chance. The Bengals are at home now. I think that you blew it, Ravens. Now you're screwed. Um, Although, what I am looking more into now is teams that play well in a stadium and teams that play well outside, like a stadium with no roof. Both these teams play with no roof, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that both stadiums have no roof, so that doesn't really make a difference. But keep an eye out for matchups with teams that are like the Chargers Chiefs, for example. The Chiefs have a better chance of winning that game because they're used to playing outside with no dome, whereas the Chargers play in a dome and with turf. So, and I'm pretty sure the Chiefs have real grass. See, when you make your predictions, you can't just think about the teams, you have to think about the environment too. And I don't know why I'm talking about that with this matchup, that the environment's not really going to have much of an effect. But Bengals Ravens games are always good, so I'm kind of excited for this one. Greg is also going to take the Bengals as well, and then Zach will take the Ravens by one. Which, looking at it, the Bengals need to win this game to even have a chance at making the playoffs. If they lose this game, there's no way. There's no way that they're going to win the division at whatever 7-10, right? 7-10. Unless they do, then that would be funny. I think that they can win the division at 8-9, 100%. But 7-10, that you're reaching. That's a stretch. Uh, Bills Patriots. I will take the Patriots at home in this game. Same logic I had with Bengals Ravens. Yes, the Patriots already beat the Bills earlier in the season, and that would be crazy if they beat the Bills twice. But they're at home, home field advantage. Again, both teams play outside, both teams play on real grass, I think. So, both teams play in cold weather. So realistically, it's a pretty even matchup. But you would think that the Patriots kind of figured it out against the Bills just because they won the first matchup. Of course, you can't take that into account for everything. And also thinking about it, home field advantage isn't even that much of a factor because, like I said, both teams play in the cold outside. There's no dome, the same turf. Yeah. So either team can be at home. I hear it really doesn't make that much of a difference other than crowd noise, I suppose. That's going to be the one big factor here. But I don't even think the Patriots are that good of a team, but I think they have the Bills number. Greg agrees with that. He'll take the Patriots at home. And Zach is the only one that take the Bills, which will probably end up working well for him because the smart pick would be to pick the Bills here. Just because, I mean, you can't think that there's a world where the Patriots get 2 games up on the Bills. If the Patriots win this game, they basically secure the division title. The Bills win this, then they're only a game within each other, so the Bills can 100% still win the division. But if the Patriots win this game, I think that they pretty much secured that spot and might even secured the number 1 seed. It's so weird that we're living in a world where the Patriots and Broncos are the 2 teams that have a chance at the 1 seed. And probably are both going to lose in the divisional. Jaguars, Jets. I'll just take the Jaguars. Really no reason thinking about it. This is why I lost the pick last week. I was thinking about it too much. I was like, oh, well, the Jaguars are too inconsistent and the Colts are on a cold streak, but they got to get it rolling. And what better team to do it against the Jaguars? But I'm not going to think about this. It's just straight up Jaguars win. Everybody's going to take the Jaguars here. Texans, Cardinals, another game I can kind of skip through pretty quickly. Texans are at home. I have a gut feeling that the Cardinals may win this game. Not going to predict it, but if anybody is feeling risky out there and they need some quick money, bet on the Cardinals because I think that they actually have a pretty solid chance of winning this game. It's really weird, but this is trap game written all over it, but not I'm not going to predict it. Greg's going to take the Texans, and then obviously Zach will as well. The Texans defense has just arguably, well, not even arguably anymore. The Texans have the number one defense in the league, and there's not even a question. If their offense has been stepping up recently, but if their offense can take the next step up and get just a little bit better, then they're going to be the scariest team. They actually would probably move up to Super Bowl favorites, I think, because there's no other team in the AFC that is that dominant. The NFC, it's a toss up. It can be the Rams, it can be the Seahawks. I think those are pretty clearly the two best teams in the NFL right now. But the AFC, it's a toss up. You don't even know, you know. I think the Texans, despite being 8-5, the Broncos and Patriots kind of look like frauds right now. The Texans got cooking at the right time. Uh, Browns, Bears, another game. There's a lot of games this week that are just, skip straight through it. Bears are at home. Browns just lost to the Titans, which is the most embarrassing thing you can do. So everybody's going to take the Bears, obviously. Let's just skip through it. Another game that we can kind of skip through. Will it be closer? Yeah, I think it will be a close game, only because I think that the Eagles don't have to score a lot of points to win this game. Like you see here, the Eagles can score 20 points and probably still win this game. And like I said, it's not great for fantasy, but the coaches aren't really thinking about fantasy. They're not thinking about a shootout. The only reason shootouts happen is if shootouts need to happen. If the Eagles can just run it with Saquon the whole game and run it down their throats and score 20 points, even score 13 points and still win, then that's what they're going to do. Why throw it if you don't have to throw it, especially after what happened last game? I don't think you want Jalen Hurts to even throw a fucking pass anymore, which I understand. I mean, it's the Raiders defense, but there's no reason to get extracurricular here. Just run the ball. I think you'll be fine. Greg's also going to take the Eagles, and Zach will too. We all have pretty interesting scores, but see, it's all close because everybody knows that the Eagles don't have to throw it 50 yards and on 3rd and 4 to win this game. Commanders, Giants, interesting game here. I'm going to take the Giants. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. Uh, I don't know if the Commanders are favored in this game. I don't think they should be after just what happened to the with the Vikings. But I'm kind of confused because you'll see in a minute. But Zach and Greg both took the Commanders here, which is a bit sus. I mean, it's okay, obviously, but now I'm thinking, like, do they know something that I don't? Because the Commanders just got shit on, and the Giants are actually a pretty good team. The Giants could realistically have 8 wins right now, like easily 8 wins, but they're just the master of the choke. But they're at home in this game. I feel like this is a pretty straightforward pick. The Giants should be favored unless Russell Wilson's playing. Maybe that's what I don't know. But you should start Jameis and you would have a 99% chance to win. See, like I said, I already spoiled it, but Greg's going to take the Commanders, and then Zach is also going to take the Commanders. Titans, Niners. Yeah, I mean, an interesting kind of weird score, but another game we don't have to really dwell on. I mean, the Titans did get their first win or their second win. Congratulations. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I was just a dumbass thinking they'd do it against the Jaguars. Uh, Greg is also going to take the Niners, and then Zach also, obviously. I hope the Niners score 38 points. That'd be great for fantasy. Uh, Speaking of fantasy, if there's any, check your waiver wire. get the Seahawks kicker, get the Seahawks defense, get every Seahawks player and start them, because in one of my fantasy leagues, that's pretty much all I have is Seahawks players, and I'm winning every week. So that's the trick. Anyway, 34-17, I have the Seahawks winning. Will Philip Rivers play? I don't think it matters if he does or doesn't. The Seahawks. See, a lot of people still have the Rams number one in the power rankings. I actually disagree. I think the Seahawks are the best team in the NFL right now. Like I said, it's a toss up between the Rams and the Seahawks, but I think the Seahawks are actually better than the Rams. Yeah, I know you have to put the Rams above them because they beat them in the head on head matchup, but like I said, the Rams obviously showed that if they play outside, that they're not a great team. If the Rams play in a dome, then they look like the 2008 Patriots or 2007 Patriots. Like they're going to go 18-0. But when they play in a stadium without a roof, in weather conditions, now they don't look so hot. The Seahawks, though, have consistently shown that they can put up 30 points every week against anybody. Greg will also take the Seahawks, and then Zach will as well. If I was the Colts, I would not start Philip Rivers in this game because, yeah, that's a death sentence. I said the Texans are the best defense in the league, which they are, and you can't really argue they're not. But I think Seahawks are probably number 2, maybe number 3. And putting Philip Rivers, just throwing him in like, oh, well, you know, play the one of the best defenses in the league. Here you go. I would not do that. Just take this one on the chin. You're 8-6. Start Philip Rivers against the Jaguars or whoever you play next. At least give him a chance. He'll probably end up getting hurt in this game. Packers Broncos. This is a pretty good game. I'll take the Broncos by 1. This was a hard game to pick because, like I said earlier, I think the Broncos are frauds. The Packers, I don't think they are. Depends who they play in the playoffs. That's really going to be the staple. If they have to play the Rams or the Seahawks, then they're cooked. Niners, that's an interesting one that can go either way. I think it really depends on who's going to get home field advantage. Eagles, another interesting one. Like they can make a run for it. I think that they'll end up playing the Bears probably, and then that's really going to have a lot of home field advantage implications. But anyway, focusing on this game, the Packers offense is much better than the Broncos offense in my opinion, but the only reason I took the Broncos is because they're at home. Prioritizing that over who has the better offense is kind of dumb. I even agree with that, but we're trying to get points here. So, games like this that are like 60-40, 50-50, you got to kind of die on that hill. You got to be willing to say, well, do I think the Packers will win? Probably, but will I take the Broncos? Sure, I'll do it. Then Greg will also take the Broncos, and then as you see, Zach will take the Packers, which is kind of why I'm more willing to take the Broncos because obviously I'm trying to get a point. You got to play the game. The game's the game. But do I think the Packers should be favored in this game? Probably. I think the Packers should win this game, but the Broncos have a chance. Rams, Lions, another. I don't think this game would matter. Both teams play in a dome, so it doesn't matter who's at home in this game. But like I said, when the Rams play in a dome, they're the best team in the league without a doubt. So an interesting one. Lions Rams is always good. I think it will be pretty high scoring. It probably will be game of the week because, Matthew Stafford versus his old team. Both teams are pretty good, but the Lions don't have Ben Johnson anymore. They still beat the Cowboys, so congratulations, but Yeah, I don't think that you're making it out of this one alive. Greg agrees he'll take the Rams. Surprising, might even be upset of the week territory. Zach is going to take the Lions. This is pretty shocking to me. I mean, could it happen? Yeah, but the Lions just aren't the same offense they used to be. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs did just score 3 touchdowns, so I'm sure that's what he's thinking. But still, without Ben Johnson, the Lions are not the threat that they used to be. Sure, they'll probably still make the playoffs and they're still a good team, but they're not the team they used to be, whereas the Rams still are. So I don't know. I don't see the Lions making it out of this one. Panthers Saints. The Panthers better win this game if they even want a chance at the playoffs. I mean, this is their chance. They got to win this game. The Bucks are cold. The Panthers are somewhat hot, but they're inconsistent. But yeah, you cannot let the Saints win. The Saints are three, all three of their wins, I'm pretty sure, are NFC South teams. The Panthers, the Bucks, and I think the no, they didn't beat the Bucks twice. Who did they beat? Okay, maybe they beat the Giants or something, but they beat the Bucks and the Panthers. I know that. So yeah, you cannot lose this game, Carolina, or you are cooked. Greg disagrees. He'll take the Saints. Good pick. If you want to try to get a game up on Zach and I, then this is the way to do it because, yeah, Saints are at home. They already beat the Panthers. So realistically, math would have it that they would win again. Zach disagrees. Take the Panthers. The Panthers really can't afford to lose this game because if they win this and the Bucks lose, which I don't think they will, but they can get a game up on the Bucks right now, and that would be really crucial. Okay, Sunday Night Football, Vikings, Cowboys. I'll take the Cowboys by 7. The Vikings proved that they are still a pretty mediocre team, that they're not the worst team in the league, so congratulations. The Cowboys let me down last week. I can't believe that I actually had faith in them. And I'm doing it again. But the Vikings aren't the Lions, obviously. They're 5-8. Uh, I think the Vikings will show sparks, especially on defense, but we kind of already know that. The Cowboys just are simply the better team. I mean, they only have one more win than the Vikings, which is pretty interesting, especially since we were putting Cowboys in playoff contention already, and the Vikings, we just were like, oh yeah, they're ass. Greg will take the Cowboys. Another surprise pick, Zach taking the Vikings. He has 2 of these picks so far, which I'm not complaining. This helps me. I mean, do the Vikings have a chance? I don't know. I feel like this is kind of crazy to say, but I think picking the Cardinals against the Texans is actually a better pick than this. Um, I don't know. I just don't see a world where the Vikings win this game. Sure, they have a good defense, but they have they have JJ McCarthy. They played good last week, yeah, but that was against the Commanders' old washed defense, which the Cowboys also had a washed defense. I think Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson really elevated that defense. So I don't really see a world where the Vikings could win this game. You would just JJ McCarthy would have to turn into prime Kirk Cousins, chuck it down the field to Justin Jefferson every play, and then hope your defense can step up. All right. This actually might be game of the week potential too. Dolphins Steelers is always a really good game. Uh, Mud Bowl is the matchup that comes to mind when you think of Dolphins Steelers. And the Steelers are at home. Both teams don't play in a dome, so they play on real grass, so probably going to be a low scoring game. But yeah, big playoff implications on the line here. The Steelers need to win this game. They would still have a game up on the Ravens, which is important. if they lose and the Ravens win, then I think that the Ravens will take the division just this week. Obviously not, but you know what I mean, because they'll both be 7-6. But the wait, no, what am I talking about? The Steelers still have the tiebreaker because I just beat them. Okay, never mind. I don't know why I thought that, but no, yeah, the Ravens can't get a game up because the Steelers just beat them. So even if the Steelers lose and the Ravens win, the Steelers have the tiebreaker. So, but still, I did the math already. There's still a world where the Ravens can win the division even if they have the same record as the Steelers. They just have to beat them in week 18. But as for the Dolphins, they're still hanging on. They basically need to win out to even have a chance. But as a Dolphins fan, I have seen this story many times before. Okay, maybe only one time before. But yeah, going 10-7 and getting the 7 seed and then getting embarrassed by the Bills. I remember, and I also remember Xavier Howard getting a pick, and we actually had a chance against the Bills in that playoff game for a slight second, and then that's obviously not how it's happened. But you know what? If we have the 7 seed, then we have a chance. That's all I can hope for. Obviously, you can already see I picked the Steelers in this game. Better defense. I can't trust the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins actually have a more explosive offense, but I just can't trust them, especially against a good defense like Pittsburgh. I can't do it. But I hope the Dolphins win this game. Greg will also take the Steelers. Maybe this score is good for him. It worked last week. And then Zach will take the Dolphins, which is a good pick. If the Dolphins can just keep up this explosive offense, then yeah, 100% they can win this game. But, you know,